This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs on the Hogstye Network.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 5, Episode 43, brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington across social media. And I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington life and sports as part of the mighty Hogstye Network on audio and here on YouTube on video. Well, man, I guess, was this rock bottom? We've hit rock bottom about, I don't know, a dozen times in 20 years. This is like Tiber Creek rock bottom, which runs under the city. People don't remember. We'll see. Got embarrassed on national TV, killed by your rival, fight on the bench. I mean, just it never ended. It never and it was 56-14, and quite frankly, Dallas let off the gas. I don't know that it gets any worse than it. And pretty much eliminated from the playoffs. I heard there's like a 4% chance now or something, but that was pretty much a complete storm that they went through.
Yeah, it's funny. Up until the first Cowboys game, I was kind of concerned that we would have to change the name of the show. We were starting to get content with winning and all this stuff, but you know what? They helped us out. The branding can stay.
It never stops. And
no.
Years ago, I run this magazine called Warpath Magazine, which is a monthly now about the team. If you're out there and want to subscribe, you can go Google it. But at one point, we decided maybe we don't need a quarterback watch column every time. That lasted like a month because crap keeps happening, and for years I haven't even thought about it otherwise. We just run a quarterback story because it never changes. God knows it never.
Realistically, the only year that we didn't have to think about a quarterback was 2012 because we thought we had found him in RG3. But ever since then, it's just been, a revolving door of quarterbacks and head coaches and offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. That was the big thing this morning is, we need to fire Jack Del Rio. The guys aren't listening to Jack and he's lost the team. And that's why Payne and Allen are fighting on the bench. Well, no, Payne and Allen are fighting on the bench because they were pissed that they were getting smoked, and Payne stuck his fingers in Allen's head and Allen took a swing at him because you don't do that to another man. But, maybe Del Rio has lost the team, and who knows? It's amazing to me how this defense went from a top 5 defense last year with a bunch of no names. You add a bunch of pieces, this year that you thought, okay, we're just going to get better and improve on that. And they're in the bottom of the league. Like, I understand, like, Chase Young is hurt. Montez Sweat has been hurt. We got ravaged by a COVID over the past couple of weeks. I get all that, but this team wasn't good when they were healthy.
Yeah. But we'll go to the fight first because people love to talk about fights. I mean, I watch practice a million times for two things: injuries and fights. So I'm immune to fights and thinking they're a big deal because I've seen it a million times. And if you think fighting like that's a big deal, you haven't been around football teams.
Right.
I mean, it happens not on a daily basis, but it happens enough. And almost always it's settled by the time they're back in the locker room. Because you have to. It's like being married. You don't go to bed mad, but we do anyway. But it usually gets settled that day, or maybe one more. I think that instance, those two playing college together too, standing next to each other on the field, and maybe Payne did that too because he knows Jonathan so well that he maybe took a liberty that he wouldn't have with anybody else. That said, Allen is a team captain and supposed to be older and wiser, and should have, said, "Hey, you don't throw a punch." I mean, he threw a punch with malice.
Oh yeah, if he had connected, Duran would have been probably sleeping on the ground for a little bit.
Yeah, but as a team captain, you have to check your emotions a little more. Now, this isn't a crime against humanity. I personally would make him sit out the first series of the next game because they're going to give up a touchdown anyway. So it's a matter. They always do. But other than that, what would finding them mean? Nothing. I mean, that's there. They both came out and spoke to the media, albeit Zoom kind of crap. but they did held with accountability. And that's all you're really going to do on that. But,
Yeah.
he happened to catch it perfectly. I've seen a lot of these. I mean, I remember Albert Connell and Terry Rabisky got into it on a sideline in Philly, and they won that game. I looked it up, it was in 2000. And the best one ever, I was sitting with Buddy Ryan, and Buddy Ryan punched Kelvin Gilbride when they were both assistant coaches in Houston on a sideline. Big fight. And it was probably 20 years later that I'm sitting with Buddy in Louisville. He was a horse racing breeder, and we were talking in the back tack room, and I asked him about it. And basically he said, if he was here today, I'd hit him again. And Buddy's like 75 at that point. That was a good grudge. So, I mean, I've seen plenty of fights. I've seen teammates, Sterling Palmer and James Washington once, were in the dirt on a practice field fighting each other. Happens all the time.
I mean, the most infamous one that we all remember was Stephen Day, when what was it? Michael Westbrook wanted to be an MMA fighter and Stephen Davis knocked his ass out.
I was there for that. I was about 20 yards away. And it happened to the point everybody was kind of stunned.
Yeah.
It was like, what? Is this for real? I mean, it was like a 7-second delay of your, is this real? Oh, yeah, this is real. And then they up, but everyone was like, what?
I remember there was a big fight with Trunk Candidate, too. I don't remember who he was fighting.
One of the best ones, two guys were jawing each other. Clinton Portis and LaRon Landry came off a practice field. They were mad, walking all the way up the hill into the locker room at Redskin Park. And about 10 minutes later, we see them both come out while we're talking to Zorn. And they're still jawing. They get down to the practice field, and they race the 100 yards across the field to see who was faster. And Landry smoked them, if I remember. And Zorn's sitting there with us watching it like, what are they doing? It was like, what? And everybody's like, they could have gotten hurt, but nah. But you see this stuff all the time.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing too. You touched on it. These guys, they went to Alabama together. They've now been with Washington together. These guys know each other very well. And I can't remember if it was Payne or Allen came out and said, it's just like brothers, nitpicking one another. That's exactly what it looked like, but look, Allen did come with some force. And I think if he would have connected, Payne would have at least been stunned, but like you said, what are they going to do? What realistically, they're not going to suspend either one of them. Like you said, Allen is a team captain. He just got paid. Duran is looking to get paid, which I don't think they will. But anyway, that's a topic for the off season.
Of course,
as far as the game, I mean, like you said, how many times have we hit rock bottom? I mean, we hit rock bottom when Michael Vick ran around FedEx Field like it was a track meet, and Albert Hainsworth was doing the dead fish, flopping around out of water trying to catch him. I mean, the Monday Night Massacre game, that was bad. That was like 59-21 or something like that. Rick, what it all boils down to is get rid of those damn benches. They're cursed. Ever since the benches talk, this team has been doomed.
I don't know if you remember when you were a little kid, maybe if you went to Demolition Derby, any of those things, they had this fundraiser for a local charity, some old car. You got 3 whacks for like $5 with a sledgehammer to smash. You could smash the windshield. You could smash whatever you wanted. Well, that's what they could do with the benches. Take it outside the FedEx Field and charge $20 for 3 whacks and make probably make 20 grand on it. It's like, it was a stupid idea, but one thing I like about it is it showed where Dan Snyder is, which is just out of camera range. Because that ain't Ron's idea. That wasn't Jason Wright's idea. That's classic Snyder, which I predicted as soon as the Dallas game happened, the first one, they would be there for the second Dallas game. He actually beat me to it and did it in Philly. You can't bring those damn things back. You better never show them on the road again.
They're taking them to New York with them, apparently.
Are they really?
Yeah, they said they will be on all road games for the remainder of the season. Now, this was when they took them to Philly. So, maybe they would think twice. Somebody will grab Dan and say, hey, this is probably a dumb idea.
Yeah, they need an intervention on this deal. Somebody hijacked the shipment driving up the toll road.
But it's funny, Rick, my motto with this team has always been the adults are running the organization. And this just clearly points that Snyder's still back there meddling and nobody will tell him no. if Ron Rivera was really well, he is the head coach, but if he was really the head personnel guy, along with the Martys and Jason Wright and all those guys, they would go to Dan and say, no, this is stupid. You're being petty. Let's worry about winning football games and not winning a D swinging contest. You know what I mean? That's all it was. We've all heard the stories of Dan and Jerry's relationship and how Dan looks up to Jerry and yada, yada, yada. They all looked up to Al Davis and all this stuff. They're from that cloth. That's all it was, though. It's just a D swinging contest. It's why, Dan would go in the locker room and yell and be stupid and say in Philly and in Dallas and all that crap that he did. And then, he's up in the owner's suite in Dallas Cowboys Stadium, acting a fool just like Jerry does in FedEx. I mean, it's a competition between stupidity billionaires, and it all comes down to whose is bigger. That's not what this is about. What this is really about is we saw a team in the Dallas Cowboys that is ready to take the next step and be, formidable in the playoffs. And it just shows you that you're still in the basement. You're still middling in the middle. You've got nothing to build on. Realistically, you've got some stars. You've got some star power with Chase Young and guys like that. But at the end of the day, that first pass that Heineke threw told me everything I needed to see. I don't know if Heineke was still just sacked from the COVID stuff or if he was just the lack of practice but at this point, it's week 16. You're a professional football player, dude. Go out there and play the game. He just looked completely out of it. He had no mustard behind that ball. Trayvon Diggs didn't make a play on that ball. Heineke threw it to him because he couldn't get it to McLaurin, who was a yard and a half away from Diggs. It just goes to show that, look, Heineke is a really good backup. He's going to be a top flight backup in this league, and he's going to be in this league for a couple more years, whether it's with Washington or not. But the fact of the matter is that I think that's his ceiling. He's going to come in. He can win you 2, 3, 4 games in a row when your starter's hurt. But after that, he can't carry the team for a full 18 games.
Well, not apologizing for Heineke, but I'll say 2 things. One, he was still feeling the effects of the COVID.
You could tell. You could tell. He was not there. And I put it on Ron that he didn't yank him earlier. Look, I know Heineke's a gamer and he's going to get up and all that stuff, but you have to go to the guy and say, look, man, you just don't have it tonight. We got to put Allen in. But then again, Allen was in the same position too. He's probably, he's recovering from the COVID too. So you don't know what you're getting out of Allen.
Yeah. And the other part is Dallas's pass rush was hitting Heineke all the time, including the one that finally knocked him out. And that was the most amazing thing. That was a devastating hit on him. I forget who hit him, knocked him out. Was it Parsons, maybe?
I don't remember. I was asleep.
That's a chest bruise. That's a sternum bruise. That one hurts so bad. He's on the ground, all 4s. His teammates are standing right next to him, and no one helps him up.
Yep.
What the hell was that? The last time I saw that was Jeff George, but they all hated Jeff George. They don't hate Taylor, But I was like, nobody's going to help him up. It just shows you mentally they're not there, And
I don't know if it was that. It also could be the fact that they wanted to wait for medical trainers to come out there. Generally when guys get injured, not just in football but in real life, if somebody's injured, it's best to just leave them alone until a professional can get there that knows what they're doing.
But nobody even checked on them. I mean, you couldn't see anybody crouched down,
right,
to say, yeah, they're just standing there going, "What's up, Taylor? Come on, man." It's like,
but Rick, that's another thing too, is a position of strength. We thought we had figured out the offensive line as well. Sure, they were going to replace Brandon Sheriff next year because he ain't worth $18 million. But, we thought that the offensive line was pretty solid. And I understand the offensive line is ravaged with injuries, and we really haven't seen the starting 5 since earlier in the season. But Taylor Heineke against the Cowboys has had no time to throw both games. He had no real time to throw against Denver. It's like this offensive line is just taking a really big step back. And if you think back to the 4-game winning streak, the whole thing was, hey, let's control the clock. Gibson doesn't have time or lanes to run. Yeah.
Well, and we got to run too. Hey, thanks to all of you out there who've now surpassed 2,000 followers on YouTube watching the show. Appreciate it. Keep watching. A lot of content going on. And we'll be back Thursday with the next show here for the podcast. I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.